Ronal is the tsahìk or spiritual leader of the Metkayina. Her co-leader, aka the Oluektan, is Tonowari, which is really convenient because they're a mated pair. Ronal, being the spiritual leader, means that she oversees all of the spiritual needs of the Metkayina. Like if you need anything spiritual, you go to her. The tsahìk is well versed in Pandoran botany, so she has this massive collection of plants and herbs to treat illnesses or injuries that her people suffer from. When she's not treating wounds, Ronal guides the clan through ceremonies like first breath and funerals. But funerals aren't that fun, so we're just gonna go back to the first breath for a second. First breath is the first rite of passage that a Na'vi from the Metkayina is gonna go through. During first breath, the entire clan of the Metkayina will walk over to the shallow end of the lagoon to witness what's about to go down. The pregnant mother will submerge herself under the shallow water to perform a water birth, and the tsahìk, in this case Ronal, helps the mother guide the newborn to the surface. The name first breath is literally referring to the first breath that the Na'vi newborn will take after emerging from the water. After learning about this ceremony, I'm not really surprised that we saw a bunch of Na'vi babies just swimming around during the Tulkun's return ceremony. And while we're on the topic of mothers, Ronal is the mother to Tsireya, the Tsakarem, or tsahìk in training. She's also reluctantly the mother to Ao'nung, the monumental disappointment. Tsireya is the epitome of everything a good tsahìk in training should be. She's intelligent, she's sympathetic, she's very in tune with her surroundings, and she's willing to learn. And Ao'nung is, let's talk more about the tsahìk in training. Ronal is preparing Tsireya to take over her role one day. So she teaches her daughter about the way of water, Pandoran botany, medicine, as well as instructing her on how to perform certain dance rituals and customs. When Neytiri, the tsahìk in training for the Ometikaya, arrived at the Metkayina village of Awa'atlu, Ronal started to train her as well, taking over for Mawai as Neytiri's teacher. After Kiri had that one accident or incident or like whatever the heck that was that happened at the spirit tree, you can see Tsireya assisting Ronal right here by handing over the proper supplies that Ronal would need. But Tsireya waited outside as Neytiri took over the role as assistant, as well as Tuk. Tuk also helped. Here's a quick side note and something that I definitely wanted to address. Even though Ronal was the one to give the final say in whether or not the Sullys were gonna get taken in by the Metkayina, she didn't want them there, like at all. And she thought that the Sullys would fail at conforming with their way of life. And because of this, Ronal kind of gives Neytiri a taste of her own medicine. Neytiri is now the outsider and getting treated terribly because of it. You know, the same exact thing that she does to humans like Spider. The blind hatred Neytiri has for Spider is the same kind of hatred that Ronal has for the Sully children. Neytiri refers to the humans/avatars like Korich as demons. Demon! Then Ronal judges like half of Neytiri's kids in front of everyone, saying this: they have demon blood! Like I said, she took Neytiri's medicine and she's like, taste it. And speaking of Ronal is the most diverse tsahìk I think we've ever seen, as she's also a skilled hunter, and like her husband, she's a fierce warrior, at times even going into battle while pregnant.
You should stay back.
Right. I can't tell if that's amazing or child endangerment, or both. Who's to say? If you're a member of the Setops and you're aiding Korich in taking the Sully children and the Metkayina children hostage, and you see this 8'7" tall warrior riding a skimwing and wielding this big ol' spear, as well as a blade that's made from aquamarine sea crystal, you should feel like you're in danger. Below Ronal's marine Dorado Verde leather headpiece, you can see the tsahìk forehead shell that's covering the center of her forehead. Appropriately, it's a traditional tsahìk shell that only the spiritual leader wears. This is paired with the tsahìk shell necklace, which holds the tsahìk knife. You remember, the same kind of knife that Mo'at stabs Jake with in the first Avatar. Ronal's necklace has trinkets on it right here and right here. These have been gradually added to the accessory over time, as they were woven into the necklace by previous tsahìks. And like any good tsahìk, Ronal carries this medicine pouch that holds vials, certain healing medicines, and stuff like that. It's basically a first aid kit, but more spiritual. She also has these iridescent shells that are finely woven into her armband. And the reason she's specifically rocking these iridescent shells is to match the armbands that the rest of her family's wearing. The rest of her clothing is meant to represent her rank within the clan. In the book, The Art of Avatar, The Way of Water, costume designer Deborah L. Scott went on to talk about the creation of Ronal's look, claiming that no one else in the Metkayina would wear a skirt but Ronal, which makes her even more distinguished. On the skirt, there are mixes of different kinds of shells, and that lavender color is from shells that I picked up on the beach. We went back and made our own versions of the shells with 3D printing. And as for the other skirt, when you first see her in the film, the color is very vibrant. It's prideful. It's elaborate. You see her coming. And it really does do an incredible job of giving off that importance. From the second that we saw her, we were like, hey, whoa, who the heck is this? They seem really important. Ronal's song cord is meant to represent her entire clan, starting with her daughter Tsireya, as this bead right here is meant to represent Tsireya's birth. With Ronal's song cord representing her people, it makes sense as to why she incorporated this song cord into her dress right here. Just in case you haven't watched my fire Metkayina explain video, or my video talking about Tonowari, or my short talking about the Metkayina tattoos, or the ocean clans have these tattoos on them that look like this. Each marking holds significance, as they each represent a life event, the same way that beads or trinkets on one song cord will represent a milestone, life event, etc. Another thing to represent her rank and importance within the clan would be her tattoos. The style of these markings indicate what family you're a part of, and the placement of these markings represent your role within the clan. The starting point is at the center of your body, like the face, neck, and then chest, as this area is going to represent the Metkayina's central village. So if you spend a lot of time there, your tattoos are most likely going to be like, you know, around this region. But if you're a hunter who spends most of their time beyond the reef and out in the open ocean doing all that hunting, your tattoos are going to be completely covering your arms. The tattoos on Ronal are centralized on her face, neck, and chest, even more than Tonowari's, as his markings branch out more than hers, like onto the shoulders. This is telling us that Ronal is spending all of her time at the central village of the Metkayina. Ronal's spirit sister is Ro'a, or sorry, was Ro'a. We don't know too much about Ro'a, other than the fact that she was a composer of songs, and that she was very much revered for it. Ro'a died in the year 2170, after the Sky People, aka Quaritch and Captain McScoresby over here, hunted her down for Amrita, and to also send a message to the Sullys. Some people have been wondering how Ro'a's son died, because he wasn't being hunted. However, if we make the comparison to humpback whales, the calves don't have much time to survive without proper nourishment from their mother. So I'm assuming that the same thing applies to the tulkun. Remember when I brought up the concept of first breath and explained it to you for like the 27th time? First breath is the first, well, Ro'a waited many breeding cycles to have her calf, almost like she was wanting to line up her pregnancy with her spirit sister. Metkayina and Tulkun will often experience each other's first breath ceremonies together. But as you know by now, the humans definitely prevented that from happening. So even though Ronal got Ao'nung and Tsireya back at the end, I still don't know why she and Tonowari didn't sink the sea dragon themselves.